Tamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Dehamutiri Nashtiprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So continuing this with a discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 27, Lord Krishna's instructions on the process of deity worship. Text 38 onwards. तप्त जाम्बु नद प्रख्यम शंख चक्र गदाम्बुजय लसत चतुर्भुजम शांतम पद्म किंजल कवाससम स्फुर किरीट कटक कटि सूत्र वरांगदम श्रीवत्स वक्षसम राजत कौस्तुभम वनमालिनम ध्यायन्नभ्यर्च्य दारुणी हविषाभि घृतानि च प्रासाद्य भागावाघारो दत्वाचार्य प्लुतम हविः जुहुयान मूल मंत्रेण षोडशर्चावदानता धर्मादिभ्यो यथा न्यायं मंत्र सृष्टि कृतं बुधा. And the intelligent devotee should meditate upon that form of the Lord whose color is like molten gold, whose forearms are resplendent with the corn-filled disc, club, and lotus flower, and is always peaceful and dressed in a garment colored like the filaments within a lotus flower. His helmet, bracelets, belt, and fine arm ornaments shine brilliantly. The symbol of Srivatsa is on his chest, along with the glowing kaustubh gem and a garland of forest flowers. The devotee should then worship that Lord by taking pieces of firewood soaked in sacrificial ghee and throwing them into the fire. He should perform the ritual of Aghar, presenting into the fire the various items of oblation drenched in ghee. He should then offer to 16 demigods, beginning with the Yamaraj, the oblation called Swishtikrit, reciting the basic mantra of each deity in the 16-line Purusha Shukta hymn. Pouring one oblation after each line of the Purusha Shukta, he should utter the particular mantra naming each deity. Abhyacharyat namaskritya parshyateebhyo valim haret mool mantram javeda brahma smaran narayanatmakam. Having thus worshipped the Lord in the sacrificial fire, the devotee should offer his obeisances to the Lord's personal associates by bowing down and should then present offerings to them. He should then chant quietly the Moola mantra of the deity of the Lord, remembering the absolute truth as the Supreme Personality, Narayana. Tattvachanam uchchesham vishvekshnaya kalpayet mukhvasam surabhimata tambuladyam atharhayet. Once again, he should offer the deity water for washing his mouth, and he should give the remnants of the Lord's food to Vishwaksena. Then he should present the deity with fragrant perfume for the mouth and prepared betel nut. Upagayan grana nirityan karamani abhinayan mama matkatha shravayan shranvan muhurtam kshanit ko bhavet. Singing along with others, chanting loudly and dancing, acting out my transcendental pastimes and hearing and telling stories about me. The devotee should, for some time, absorb himself in such festivity. A devotee engaged in regulative worship of the Supreme Lord should sometimes become ecstatically absorbed in chanting and hearing the pastimes of the Lord, dancing and other festivities. The word muhurtam, for some time, indicates that the devotee should be careful not to neglect his regulative principles and service to the Lord in the name of so-called ecstasy. Although one may be ecstatically engaged in chanting, hearing, and dancing, he cannot give up the formality of the regulated service to the Lord. So both have to go hand in hand, chanting, dancing, and other activities, but deity worship has to go on simultaneously, but one has to see which one takes a priority at what time. Stavar Ucha Vacha Stotra Paurana Prakritarapi Stutva Prasida Bhagwan Iti Vandeta Dandavat. The devotee should offer homage to the Lord with all kinds of hymns and prayers, both from the Puranas and from other ancient scriptures, and also from ordinary traditions. saying, "Oh Lord, please be merciful to me." He should fall down like a rod to offer his obeisances. Shiromatpadayo kritva bahubhyam च परस्परं प्रपन्नं पाहि मामीश भीतं मृत्युगृहारणवात्. Placing his head at the feet of the deity, he should then stand with folded hands before the Lord and pray, "O my Lord, please protect me, who am surrendered unto you. I am most fearful of this ocean of material existence, standing as I am in the mouth of death." Iti shesham maya dattam shirasyadhaya sadaram udvasye ched udvasyam jyotishi tatpunah. Praying in this way, the devotee should respectfully place upon his head the remnants I offer to him. And if the particular deity is meant to be sent away at the end of worship, then they should be performed. The devotee, once again placing the light of the deity's presence inside the light of the lotus within his own heart. Means light of the deity's presence means just always should be remembering of that form of the Lord. Archadishu yada yatra shraddha mam tatra charchayit sarvabhuteshu atmani cha sarvatmaham avastita. Whenever one develops faith in me, in my form as a deity or in other bona fide manifestations, one should worship me in that form. I certainly exist both within all created beings and also separately in my original form, since I am the supreme soul of all. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped according to the faith of a particular worshipper. The deity form Archa is specifically mentioned here because deity worship is essential for spiritual progress. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentions that inexperienced persons may think that the deity is meant for the sense gratification of the worshipper, since superficially the deity is made of external substances such as marble or brass. But through the process of installing the deity by chanting the authorized mantras, one invites the Supreme Personality of Godhead to enter the deity form. By regulated, faithful worship, one gradually understands that the deity is completely non-different from the Supreme Lord himself. At that stage, on the strength of deity worship, one rises to the second-class platform of devotional service. So second-class platform, what is? So Kanishta Adhikari, then Madhyam, then Uttam. So Kanishta Adhikari, we studied about it, that they do deity worship. They also get involved. Everybody does deity worship, anybody who wants to make progress. But Kanishta, or the beginning stages, they don't know how to deal with the devotees. They only do deity worship nicely, but they don't know. They cannot have any proper discrimination or discretion on how to take care of the devotees, how to serve the devotees. At this more developed stage, one desires to make friendship with other devotees of the Lord. So this is the Madhyam Adhikari, middle stage. And as one becomes solidly established in the community of Vaishnavas, one completely gives up material life and gradually becomes perfect in Krishna consciousness. So this is how one makes progress. Evam kriya yoga patha pumana vedic tantrika archanno bhayata siddhim matto vindati abhipsitam. By worshipping me through the various methods prescribed in the Vedas and Tantras, one will gain from me as his desired perfection in both this life and the next. Madharcham tam pratithapya mandiram karye drinam pushpodyanani ramyani puja yatrotsavashritam. The devotee should more fully worship my deity by solidly constructing a temple along with beautiful gardens. These gardens should be set aside to provide flowers for the regular daily worship, special deity processions, and holiday observations. So wealthy, pious persons should be engaged in constructing temples and gardens for the pleasure of the deity. The word dridam indicates that the most solid means of construction should be employed. So not just little bitty worthless construction, good construction. because it's a temple of the Lord, and we don't want the temple building structure to fall down and hurt the Lord. We don't want that. Puja dinam pravahartham mahaparvasvasthanvaham chetrapanapura graman dattva matsashti tamya. One who offers the deity gifts of land, markets, cities, and villages so that the regular deity worship and special festivals of the deity may go on continually will achieve opulence equal to my own. Continually will achieve opulence means forever, just by doing something for the worship of the deity. By placing tracts of land in the deity's name, there will be regular income for opulent deity worship, both from rent and from agricultural production. A worshipper who makes arrangements mentioned above will certainly achieve opulence like that of the personality of Godhead. And that is why we see in Indian tradition, Vedic Hindu tradition, big kings and big people, they would always construct beautiful temples for the deities, deity worship. South India, if you go, there's so many. In Rajasthan, MP also, of course, in UP, there has been so many attacks from Mughals. They broke so many temples. But now the government is taking up big projects, beautiful temples for the worship of the deity. Of course, their purpose is not to get something that will get same opulence, but this is the benefit of constructing temples for the deity. And anyway, one can make some offering towards that. One should, whichever way, whatever one's means are, one should, because after all, it's Lord's temple that will be constructed. And here it is said, by placing tracts of lands in deity's name, there will be regular income for opulent deity worship. And many people are there. They have opened trusts, and from trust, regular income comes, and they donate it to the deity. In South, that Tirupati Balaji temple, considered the richest temple of the world. And in South, it's a tradition in South that they make the business owners, they make Balaji as their business partner, whatever, 2%, 5%, 10%, whatever. It depends upon the person. And every year, they would go, after doing the balance sheet, they would go and give Balaji his share. It's a very opulent temple. Pratishtya sarvabhaumam sadmana bhavantrayam puja dina brahmalokam tribhir matsamya tamiyat. By installing the deity of the Lord, one becomes king of the entire earth. By building a temple for the Lord, one becomes ruler of the three worlds. By worshipping and serving the deity, one goes to the planet of Lord Brahma. And by performing all three of these activities, one achieves a transcendental form like my own. So he gets Swarup Mukti. Sarupi Mukti, I'm sorry. And okay, so Krishna is talking about himself and his deity. And so even in West, the local people here, they really give lots of donation for church building and church maintenance and operation. Everybody, it's in their tradition that everybody gives at least 10% of their income to the church. And they're huge, beautiful, opulent churches here. Wonderful structure. It's really, it motivates you to go and see and how they operate and how they construct. It's wonderful churches they have built. Of course, The preaching wise, the problem is there, the preaching, no preaching. So the youngsters are not getting very attracted towards the church. And so that's where the problem is. But if preaching was there, beautiful structures are there, beautiful facilities are there, wonderful facilities, and they can do really good. Mamev nirpekshena bhakti yogena vindati bhakti yogam salabhat evam yah pujiyat mam. But one who simply engages in devotional service with no consideration of fruitive results attains me. Thus, whoever worships me according to the process I have described will ultimately attain pure devotional service unto me. So the previous two verses were spoken by the Lord to attract those interested in fruitive results. And now the ultimate purpose of the worshipping of the Lord is described. The ultimate goal in life is Lord Krishna himself. Love for the Lord is the highest bliss, although ordinary people cannot understand this. So construction of temples is good, but devotion service, pure devotion service, there is no alternate for that. There's nothing better than that. Yah swadattam varerattam haresur vipreyo ritim sajayate vidbhuk varshanam ayutayutam. Anyone who steals the property of the demigods or the Brahmins, whether originally given to them by himself or someone else, must live as a worm in stool for 100 million years. Wow. One who steals a property of the demigods or the Brahmins, who steals a property of the deities or of the devotees, must live as a worm in stool for 100 million years. So not a very good idea. Kartushya sarathir hetor anumode turevacha karmanam bhagina pretya bhuyo bhuyasi tatphalam. Not only the performer of the theft, but also anyone who assists him, instigates a crime, or simply approves of it must also share the reaction in the next life. According to their degree of participation, they each must suffer a proportionate consequence. So stealing paraphernalia meant for worshipping the Supreme Lord or his authorized representatives should be avoided at all costs. So on one hand, there's so much of benedictions. If somebody gives donation, gives some charity for deity temple construction, and on the other hand, if somebody steals, there's so many people they steal from the deities, from the temple, from churches, mosque or gurdwara or any other place of worship, they'll be severely punished, severely. So thus ends the purport to 11th canto, 27th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Instructions on Process of Deity Worship. So we still have time, so we can start the next chapter, chapter 28, which is Jnana Yoga. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Parasvabhava Karmani Na Prashansen Na Garhayet Vishvam Ekatmanakam Pashyan Prakritya Purushena Cha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one should neither praise nor criticize the conditioned nature and activities of other persons. Rather, one should see this world as simply the combination of material nature and the enjoying souls, all based on the one absolute truth. So material situations and activities appear to be good, passionate, or ignorant according to the interaction of the modes of nature. These modes are produced by the illusory potency of the Lord, which is itself not different from its master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So a devotee of the Lord remains aloof from the illusory temporary manifestations of material nature. At the same time, he accepts material nature as a potency of the Lord and thus it is essentially real. Example may be given that modeling clay is shaped by a child into various playful forms such as tigers, men, or houses. The modeling clay is real, whereas the temporary shapes it assumes are illusory, not being actual tigers, men, or houses. So similarly, the entire cosmic manifestation is modeling clay in the hands of the Supreme Lord, who acts through Maya to shape the glaring temporary forms of illusion which absorb the minds of those who are not devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this again coming back to the material nature and the three modes, because this is Jnana Yoga, this is the knowledge that one has to have. Parasvabhava karmani ya prashansati nindati sa ashu bhrashyate swarthan asatya abhiniveshata. Whoever indulges in praising or criticizing the qualities and behavior of others will quickly become deviated from his own best interest by his entanglement in illusory dualities. A conditioned soul desires to lord it over material nature and thus criticizes another conditioned soul whom he considers inferior. Whether he considers or wants to put him down, it could be anywhere. Similarly, one praises a superior materialist because one aspires to that superior position in which one may dominate others. Praising and criticizing other materialistic people are thus directly or indirectly based on envy of other living entities and causes one to fall down from swa-artha or one's self, a real self-interest, Krishna consciousness. So praising and criticizing basically is because of envy. So praise others also out of envy. Why? Because we want to get what they have, and once we have that, we want to dominate others, or we want to enjoy that thing or the quality or position, whatever. So this material world is basically is rotating on the basis of envy. We are just envious of each other. The word asti abhiniveshita, by absorption in the very or unreal, indicate that one should not adopt a concept of material duality and praise or criticize other materialistic persons, at least not out of envy. Praise should be there that, okay, you got so much of mercy of the Lord. Yes, one should be happy for that. Rather, one should praise the pure devotees of the Supreme Lord and criticize the mentality of rebellion against the personality of Godhead, by which one becomes a non-devotee. One should not criticize a low-class materialist, thinking that a high-class materialist is nice. They both are materialists. In other words, one should not distinguish between the materialist and the spiritual, or one should distinguish between the material and spiritual, and should not become absorbed in good and bad on the material platform. For example, an honest citizen distinguishes himself between the life of civil freedom and that of imprisonment, whereas a foolish prisoner distinguishes between comfortable and uncomfortable prison cells. He is just thinking of prison cells only. Just as for a free citizen, any situation in prison is unacceptable. For a liberated Krishna conscious devotee, any material position is unappealing. But if we just think like others, then we would be praising, oh, this rich man is so good, or this sports person, or this leader, they are so wonderful. And we just look at all the material qualities of others instead of spiritual qualities. And that's what Shloka says, then he quickly becomes deviated from his own best interest. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur indicates that rather than trying to separate conditioned souls by materialistic distinctions, one should bring them together to chant the holy names of the Lord and propagate the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya. A non-devotee or even an envious third-class devotee is not interested in uniting people on the platform of love of Godhead. Instead, he unnecessarily separates them by emphasizing material distinctions like communist, capitalist, black, white, rich, poor, liberal, conservative, and so on. Material life is always imperfect, full of ignorance, and disappointing in the end. Rather than praising and criticizing the high and low features of ignorance, one should be absorbed in Krishna consciousness on the spiritual platform of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. So one can only do that if one is at that level of spiritual platform. Then he can guide, he can inspire, motivate people from any and every walk of life to take up devotion service, take up chanting of the holy names. If we are not beyond that material level of making distinctions, this is rich man and this is poor and this is black or this is white and whatever considerations we have in our heart, then we cannot be the real spiritual leader. So first we have to be at that level. And that was definitely that was Prabhupada. Like this Maharaj, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. He was African American, black body, and wonderful, very, very scholarly person. In 60s, he was doing PhD from Princeton University, one of the wonderful universities, very high universities of America. And he left everything and he joined the movement. He came in touch with Prabhupada's disciples, read the books, and he just gave up everything. But he was black, and at that time there are some traces of discrimination, but that time it was really there, discrimination. And once he went to Prabhupada, and he said, Prabhupada, the other disciples discriminate against me because I'm black and they're white. And what Prabhupada said to him really shook him. Prabhupada said, if you think you're black and they are white, you're still in the body level of consciousness. Prabhupada did not tell him, oh no, I'll talk to those devotees, they shouldn't discriminate. Because you are thinking like. So he really understood. Yeah, Prabhupada is way beyond this bodily level. And he wants his disciples, he is expecting his disciples to come out of this bodily level of consciousness. And then bodily level of dealing and thinking and so on and so forth. Tyajase nidryapanne bindasto nashtachetanah mayam prapnoti mrityam va tadannartha drikpuman. Just as embodied spirit soul loses external consciousness when his senses are overcome by the illusion of dreaming or the death-like state of deep sleep, so a person experiencing material duality must encounter illusion and death. The material senses are described here as Tajasa because they're born of false ego in the mode of passion. Impelled by false ego, one dreams of the material world without the personality of Godhead and makes plans to lord it over nature, to exploit her resources. Modern atheistic scientists have developed this false ego to fine art and imagine themselves great heroes conquering the obstacles of nature and moving forward toward inevitable omniscience. Such dreamy materialists are repeatedly stunned by the crushing reactions of the laws of nature, and their arrogant, agnostic civilizations are repeatedly annihilated by the world wars, natural disasters, and violent shifts of the cosmic situation. So modern atheistic scientists have developed this false ego to fine art and imagine themselves great heroes. Just because we have some knowledge and we have some technology, we have developed the technology and then we have the technology and we try to mess with the nature, thinking I'm most powerful, I'm the controller, I'm the proprietor, I'm the enjoyer. Krishna's nature really defeats, really shows them who's the boss actually. But materially, people are so much in ignorance of the position of Lord and our relationship with Him. They don't want to give up. They always something new they have come up with. Oh, we will become immortal. We will become ageless. That we will won't age beyond certain date, and we'll become. There won't be any diseases. That's never going to happen. And so many claims there are. But this is passion and ignorance actually. On a simpler level, all conditioned souls are captivated by sex attraction and thus bound to the illusion of material society, friendship, and love. They imagine themselves to be wonderful enjoyers of the material nature, which suddenly turns against them and kills them, just like the tamed animal that suddenly turns on its master and kills it. They imagine themselves to be the wonderful enjoyers of the material nature. Basically, this is the whole crux of the situation is we want to enjoy the material nature, whether in terms of opposite sex, family, or natural resources. I think I am the enjoyer. I should have more and more. Or one country thinks I should have all of the world's natural resources, and for that I'm going to fight because I have better and sophisticated and more mass-killing weapons and technology that I have, and then there will be resistance, and then we think I show them this form of life is the best life, and you are not living a civilized life. It's all basically we want to control, and we would think that controlling the material nature, we become the enjoyers of it, rather than becoming servants of Krishna, servant of material nature, servants of everything that Krishna has created. Serve them, and we'll enjoy them much more. But this is just not in the thinking process, not in the consciousness of people. Kim bhadram kim abhadram vad vettasya vastuna yat vachoditam tadinhritam manasa dhyatamev cha. That which is expressed by material words or meditated upon by the material mind is not ultimate truth. What therefore is actually good or bad within this insubstantial world of duality, and how can the extent of such good and bad be measured? The actual truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything emanates, by whom everything is maintained, and in whom everything merges to rest. Material nature is a reflection of the absolute truth, and by the interaction of the material modes of nature, the innumerable varieties of matter appear to be separate, independent truths. Maya, illusion, distracts the conditioned soul from the absolute truth and absorbs its mind the glaring manifestation of matter, which ultimately is not different from the absolute, being an emanation from it. The sense of good and bad as separate from the Supreme Lord is like the good and bad dreams experienced by a sleeping person. Good and bad dreams are equally unreal. Similarly, material good and evil have no permanent existence separate from the personality of God. But it takes us away because it doesn't lead us closer to the Lord. The Supreme Lord is the well-wisher of every living entity, and therefore execution of his order is good, whereas disobeying his order is bad. Lord Krishna has created a perfect social and occupational system called Varnashram Dharma. And the Lord has further given perfect spiritual knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita and other literature. Execution of Lord Krishna's order will bring complete social, psychological, political, economic, and spiritual success to human society. We should not foolishly look for so-called good outside the orders of the personality of God. Such orders are called the laws of God and constitute the essence or substance of religion. So outside the laws of God, it doesn't mean any particular form of religion. This is not what is mentioned here. Laws of God, they constitute the essence or substance of religion. Other than that, material world, everything is, that's what Shloka said, they were actually good or bad within this insubstantial world of duality. And how can the extent of such good and bad be measured? This material world, whether good or bad, it just keeps going, and then we keep on taking birth again and again and enjoying whatever good reactions and suffering for bad reactions. I guess I can stop here because it's getting more and more technical now. See, anybody has any questions or comments? Okay, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare